faces. Hi.
Welcome to our cross-examination. This is Hope, and Bradley
This
is
is
going
Bradley.
to be cross-examining today.
Her
We're gonna be
negative
answering his
construction
questions.
of my affirmative video. So let's begin, because we only have 3 minutes. So, to begin, you talked about my argument for the lunar flashlight mission. You criticized it, saying that we don't really know much about it, and because we don't know, it's not really worth it. But my response to that is, the nature of science and investigation and experimentation is to discover this unknown. So I was wondering if you could clarify what exactly you meant or elaborate, because if not, then I feel that because we don't know, that is the exact reason why we should do the mission.
Yeah, definitely I would say I do agree with you. I think it might have been, I see where you're coming from. I would say science, yes, is an experiment. So, yeah, I guess I agree with you on this one.
Cool.
Good point, Bradley.
Then we will move on to helium-3, and you argued that my argument was a little bit cyclical in that I say that I want to develop the moon and harness helium-3 to power this moon base, but you projected it as if you couldn't have one without the other. You couldn't have the moon base without helium-3, and you couldn't have helium-3 without the moon base. And I do understand that, and I agree with you, but I think that the center of my argument was less on that and more of, is helium-3 a viable resource and a alternative for clean energy to power it? Less of, well, does it work, and more of, well, is it existent? And so I was wondering if you could clarify what exactly you meant by my argument being cyclical.
So through that argument, my point was, yes, the moon base would be searching for the helium-3. The helium-3 would be used to power the moon base. And what I was saying was that throughout that cycle, what little bit is extra would not be enough to come back to Earth to solve Earth's environmental crisis. So I saw it as sort of
Problematic.
yeah, like
I agree.
Really solve anything. Although I do see where you're coming from.
Yeah, and I also see where you're coming from,
There we
Hope,
go.
in the fact that I don't want to argue that helium-3 is the end-all save-all for everything. It just works in the fact that we have an opportunity on the moon, and we should use that. So to the last point I would like to bring up, and that is that you talked a lot about social issues and how that should be more of our focus than the moon, and I think that that's just not very topical, only because our argument is for the moon, and to kind of say that we should focus on social issues, I agree with you, but I don't think that has anything to do with the moon. So I was wondering if you could respond on that.
Yeah, so my response would be that I was trying to look at the whole entire picture and how this trip to the moon would affect society as a whole. So I see where you're coming from, saying that it might not be towards the energy crisis, but I just wanted to envelop society as a whole, because at the end of the day, I feel like we are trying to help Earth. And that concludes our cross-examination.
Because that was the quickest 3 minutes ever.
Thanks, everybody.